Today I'm going to install the Schlage Legion touchscreen deadbolt. It's the one you can program codes to and access remotely. And also today I'm going to be connecting it to the Vera Edge so you can control it remotely from afar and program codes and make sure that's locked. And alright, so let's get into it. We have the instructions, different manuals, along with on the back of the one we'll have the code for the lock with the master programming code, and that'll be with the manual. So you want to unpack the box. This will be the battery compartment. You'll want to start off removing the existing deadbolt, and yours will probably be different. Alright, so you want to lay everything out. For this project, I'm actually going to be using the same plates that are in place already, so for your application you might be able to do the same, and you will be using these parts here for sure to connect the lock together, and these are also the other screws that came with it that you'll use for these plates if you are not able to reuse the ones that are in place already. Alright, now I'm going to be installing the deadbolt section, and you want to pay attention that you're installing this part facing up where it says top, so you don't want to install it upside down, so on the top. And again, your door might be different with the hole. This is already set to the correct length, but your hole might be a little bit over further, so you would adjust this plate to extend this part out to be center of the hole. I'm going to use the old screws that came with it because they haven't used bigger wood screws from the previous deadbolt, and the reason is that the other screws that comes with is more thin than these, so the holes were too big for those screws that it came with. Alright, now we're going to put in place the electronic. So you'll need these two bolts to connect it through here. So this wire you want to feed it underneath the deadbolt here, and then this where there's this groove, you want to feed it through this section right here. There we go. All right. So again, you'll feed the wire through this hole here, and then these will be the two holes you use for these larger screws. And you want to feed it through these two right here. least get them started. You want to make sure this is square to the door, not lopsided. Alright. Next we'll put in the batteries. Now the battery's ready to go. So the flat side faces out. You'll put it in and then you'll go ahead and plug in the battery here. So the next two screws you'll need is that really short one and then the long one. So you'll see here on the back here, you'll want to feed that from the deadbolt into this hole here. You want to plug this wire in. Pay attention to the little nub and where it goes inside of here. Make sure it's plugged in, and then you'll feed this wire in this channel here so it won't pinch on any parts. There we go. Now you'll put this longer screw in this area. Tighten it down, but not too tight. You don't want to strip the screw out. All right, and the small screw goes right here. All right, now it's installed. Put the cover on. All right, next you'll want to get the manual with the programming code and then plug it in and test it out. All right, so it does that for the initial setup to make sure it's aligned properly, opens and closes without any restriction. So the next thing to do will be to test it out into the door jamb to make sure there's nothing restricting it from opening and closing. All right, so we'll test it into the actual jamb itself. Close it and then test it out. It's pretty smooth. All right, so that's good. All right, something to note. This handle here actually has a locking mechanism. So you'll want to replace this with one that does not lock. That way, if someone locked it, then you wouldn't be able to get in if you were to just punch in the code for the deadbolt. So be sure to switch that out if yours is already like this, where it's keyed. So I'm going to have to get it, go to the store and get another door handle and replace this. All right, in the instruction manual, we'll have the instructions on how to manually add codes and delete codes. You can follow through the instructions. It's pretty easy to do. Just pay attention that there's your programming code on the back of the manual, and the other location to access a programming code in case you lose these instructions will be on the back of the lock itself. So you'd have to take the lock off, access that code, and then that way you can reprogram the lock manually. Otherwise, if you're going to connect to a Vera controller, then from there you can control all the codes in the lock. Alright, so the great thing about this Vera Edge is that there are no monthly fees, and then you can add multiple devices and control everything from one app. So that makes it very convenient and obviously cheap to do after you obviously invest in the device itself. So I mean, you're able to control door locks, thermostats. You can have plugs for like lamps, so you can control lamps, alarms, cameras, sensors for the alarms, and then lighting too. Alright, so for the first steps, you'll want to connect the Ethernet cable to the device, and then the power cord as well. Get it connected. And then the third, if you're setting up a new account with Vera Control, you'll need to go to the site, follow the instructions there, or if you have an existing account, then you'll want to add another controller after logging in. So you can do those steps and follow those instructions as is necessary for your scenario. Alright, so you need to look for an available Ethernet port, which all of them happen to be available on this one. Alright, it should light up. And then start following the instructions on adding a new device to the app after you download it, and follow those instructions. So you're on the site. If you're a new user, click on the button below. Here I have a new controller to set up, but if you have an existing one, then put in your username and password and follow the instructions. Alright, so once you have went through the steps of connecting your Vera Control to your app, logging in or creating a new login account, going through that process, and then once you find it on your app, it'll have like a blank screen, kind of, there's no devices or cameras or anything added. So what you need to do is go to the upper left here, click on that, and then go to devices, and then here you want to add, press on the plus sign, and then go to door locks. And in this scenario, it's the Schlage push button deadbolt lock. Right, so now you go through the steps to connect the deadbolt lock to the Vera Control. Referring back to the instructions from the Schlage deadbolt, you want to first remove the battery cover. You'll press the red button here. That's in the enrollment mode. Alright, so I'd press next on the app, and it appears I heard a beep at the Vera controller. Next, you want to press the Schlage logo on the keypad. And you'll want to enter the programming code.